Okay, today what we're going to be talking about is slope-intercept form. And what slope-intercept form is simply when we have an equation and we have it in y equals form. That's y equals mx plus b. M is your slope. It will always be attached to x. And b is your y-intercept. That's where it hits the y-axis. What's nice about slope-intercept form is that it's easier to graph from this form than it is to graph from a table of values. So for instance, if I had 2x plus y equals 6, I could use the table of values and come up with a few ordered pairs. So that means that I could just throw in a 0 for x. 2 times 0 is 0. That means that y is equal to 6. I could then turn around and throw in a 0 for y. 2x equals 6. That means 1x equals 3. And then graph these ordered pairs. 0, 6, as well as 3 and 0. And I would get a line. Well, another option is to just simply get y by itself. So here I have 2x plus y equals 6. That means that I need to take off the two x's. Whatever I do to one side, I need to do to the other. And that's going to give me y equals. Notice that these are x's and this is a number. You cannot put x's and numbers together. You have to just simply write them as is. So I want to put it in slope-intercept form, I want to put my x's first. So that means I'm going to put down a negative 2x, keeping my sign. And notice that this is a positive 6. So plus 6. Now I have it in slope-intercept form. Y equals a negative 2x plus 6. That means that my slope is going to be a negative 2, which means I will be going down 2 and right 1. And also my y-intercept is a positive 6. So I will be hitting the y-axis at a positive 6. Let's see how that works in terms of actually using it on a problem. Here I have graph x plus 2y equals a negative 8 and a negative x plus 4y equals 8. Again, I could go to the standby of a couple of tables. That's going to require me to work it out twice. If I put these both in slope-intercept form, I will quickly be able to determine which graph is correct. So I'm going to go with putting it in slope-intercept form. Let's take our first problem. X plus 2y equals a negative 8. To get y by itself, the first thing I'm going to have to do is take off the x. Take off the x, that means I'm going to subtract x from both sides. That's going to leave me with a 2y on the left, and it's equal to a negative x minus 8. Remember, keep the signs and don't put them together because these are x's and these are numbers. I don't know what x is, so I can't add it to 8 because I just don't know what it is. So you just write it the way it is. Okay, this is the value of 2 y's. I want to know what 1y is. So that means to get rid of the 2 attached to y, I will need to divide both sides by 2. I actually have to divide every single item by 2. So I get y equals a negative 1/2 x. Where did the 1 come from? This is a negative 1x. When you don't see a number, it's a 1. So this is negative 1 over 2x. And a negative 8 divided by 2 is a negative 4. So now I have one of my equations solved. Let's go ahead and see if we can come up with an answer yet. I know that my line goes down 1, right 2, and it hits the y-axis at a -4. So if I look at this one, I notice that it hits the y-axis at 1, 2, 3, 4. This one works. This one hits the y-axis at 2. This one does not work. This one hits the y-axis at 2. This one does not work. This one hits the y-axis at 4. This one actually works. So I have 2 that are a possibility. Well, let's check out our slope. This is a negative slope. That means it's going down left to right. I am sliding down the slide, not climbing up the hill. My slope for this line has to be going down. This one's going down, but notice that this one is going up. That means my answer has to be A. Well, let's go ahead and double check with our other equation. So let's solve for the other equation. So negative x plus 4y equals 8. Okay, so that means I need to get rid of the x. It's a negative x, so to undo it or to create a zero pair, I would have to add x to both sides. These guys cancel out. That leaves me with 4y on the left, and that's going to equal x plus 8. Notice that this is a positive 8. That's where I get the plus 8 from. Okay, this is the value of 4y's. I need the value of 1y. That means I would need to divide both sides by 4. Remember, we have to divide everything by 4. So this is going to give me y equals, how many x's do you see? 1x. That's 1 over 4x. And 8 divided by 4 is 2. That's plus 2. So if we're correct, this line should be hitting 2 on the y-axis. It does. It's a positive slope. It is. That means I should be able to go from this point here, go up 1 and right 4. I was able to go up 1, right 4. So A is in fact the correct answer. I know many of you guys were thinking, well, that was way more complicated than doing the table of values. Well, you think so right now because you're more used to doing a table of values. But once you get used to solving for y and getting it in slope-intercept form, it is so much easier. And you're going to be using this a lot in all of the algebra classes that you will take in the future. So it's really very important that you're able to do this. Let's go ahead and practice a couple more problems. Remember, we're getting it in slope-intercept form. That's y equals mx plus b. M being your slope and b being your y-intercept. Okay, so let's go ahead and look at the first one. X plus 3y equals a -3. I know that I need the y by themselves. The y's by themselves. That means I have to get rid of the x. It's a positive x, so to create a zero pair, I would need to subtract x from both sides. That's going to leave me with 3y equals. Remember to keep your signs. We can't combine the x's and the 3's because I don't know what x is. So I have to just simply write the negative x down, -3. Again, this is the value of 3y's. I need to know what 1y is. So I will divide everything by 3. And so to put this in slope-intercept form, I would have y equals, because 3 divided by 3 is 1, leaving me with 1y, equals, how many x's do you see here? You see 1x. So that's a -1 over 3x. And then a -3 divided by 3 is a -1. So in slope-intercept form, this line would hit the y-axis at a -1 with a slope of a -1 over 3. That's down 1, right 3. Okay, let's try the other problem. Here we have 2y minus x equals 2.